let's check out the solution challenge.
Let's do this.
Okay, I'll present my screen.
Welcome to the Google Developer Student Club's 2021 Solution Challenge. The mission of this challenge is to use Google technology to solve for one of the United Nations' 17 Sustainable Development Goals, aiming to end poverty, ensure prosperity, and protect the planet. Win cool prizes, mentorship from Google, and swag. Get help along the way from Google at training events, Qwiklabs, and hackathons. Submit your solution by March 31st, 2021. Register today. We can't wait to see what you build.
Let's get started.
I'm really excited about this summit because I get to learn a lot of new stuff, and DSC really helps me to identify and make my skills grow.
DSCs are university-based student groups that come together and learn Google technology from each other.
In DSC, I could not only learn about technical skills related about technology, but also here I could learn about soft skills like leadership, communication, and also mentoring.
I've been developing NLP-based web applications at school, and with the Google technologies I learned at the summit, I'm looking forward to taking my project to the next level.
We expanded developer student clubs this year to more universities and more countries across Southeast Asia. It is this summit where their journey begins. Over the next 2 days, DSC leads learn vital technical, problem-solving and leadership skills from Googlers and industry experts before they go back to their universities to train more students, build projects and contribute back to the community.
The most memorable part of this summit is when we met other DC leads from different countries, learning their culture and sharing the same goal, and that is helping our fellow students with the use of technology.
The sessions that was most useful for me was how to build community, how to focus and respect the audience.
It's crucial that students are able to see the big picture and prepare themselves for their professional career. And that's what DSC does. It gives them a path for the future.
The DSC journey helped me build my passion in one area of technology and grow my career.
We want you to start connecting with, understand your community, understand your university, see what's going on in your city, talk to businesses, talk to NGOs, talk to your university, identify problem statements, and then work as a group to solve those problems and actually build solutions.
I'd like to make sure that no one in my community is left behind.
We're so excited to work with you all DSC leads from across the region, to see your career grow and support you solve local problems and create impact in your communities.
Good evening, everyone. I am Louise Neypes, the acting lead of the Developer Student Club, AMACC Computer College, Caloocan, and welcome sa Day 3 na ating Firebase in Action, where we will do a Qwiklabs quest about the Serverless Firebase Development. So, ang quest na ito ay merong 4 na lab activities. Ang una is to import data to a Firestore database where you will upload existing data, which is a CSV file, to a Firestore serverless database in the cloud. Ang pangalawa naman is to build a serverless web app with Firebase, which allows users to upload information and make appointments with the fictional pet theory clinic. Ang next naman natin is you will learn how to deploy a static Hugo-based website using Cloud Build and Firebase. And lastly, you will build a Google Assistant application with Dialogflow and Cloud Functions for Firebase. Once you're signed in, you should be able to see your dashboard. And then, click nyo lang yung link na binigay sa inyo ng aming team para sa code na gagamitin natin sa Qwiklabs activity natin, which is the Serverless Firebase Development. Once na naklik nyo na siya, you should be able to see this page kung saan automatically filled up na yung code na binigay sa atin. Once na nandito na kayo, check nyo lang yung CAPTCHA verification. And then, let's click Submit. Once you click Submit, you should click Enroll in this quest para ma-credit sa inyo yung subscription na makukuha natin once natapos natin yung first lab. So, ang una natin gagawin is importing data to a Firestore database. So, sa lab na ito, matututunan natin kung paano mag-set up ng Firestore sa Google Cloud, kung paano natin i-import yung CSV file natin papunta sa Firestore database. Matututunan din natin kung paano mag-generate ng collection ng customer data na pwede natin gamitin for testing. And yung mga na-generate na collection na yun is i-import natin sa Firestore. And then yung mga data sa Firestore na yun is pwede nating ma-manipulate through the console. And lastly, matututunan natin kung paano mag-add ng developers sa Google Cloud project natin without giving them direct access to the Firestore. So, ang bibigay lang natin na role sa kanila is that they are able to view and then they are able to write in the Firestore. And then once you click the Enroll quest and after nyo mag-load, you should be redirected to the first lab. This lab has 5 credits and then meron tayong 45 minutes para matapos natin yung particular lab na ito. Para malaman natin kung ilan yung credits na nakuha natin, pwede natin i-click tong profile icon natin and then under your name, you should be able to see kung ilang credits yung nag-grant sa inyo. There should be enough credits para matapos natin yung Qwiklabs quest natin. To start, we just need to click this Start Lab button. And then check natin uli yung CAPTCHA. Once na lumabas yung window na to, i-click lang natin yung Launch with 5 credits. May caution dito kung saan, kapag binuksan mo na yung Google Console, dapat hindi ka gagawa ng iba pa bukod sa nakastate sa instructions. Kasi kapag gumawa ka ng iba na wala sa instructions, maaaring ma-block yung account mo. Everything in this lab is doable within the allotted time. So make sure na wala kayong ginagawang iba habang ginagawa nyo yung lab na ito kasi once na naubos yung time and hindi pa kayo tapos sa ginagawa ninyo, masasayang lang yung credits ninyo. And you have to repeat it again if you want to finish this particular quest. So ayun lang, nice little reminder lang. So, open natin yung Google Console. And since meron tayong dalawang account na nandito, ang gagamitin natin is yung username 1. Copy lang natin. And then, paste natin yung password na binigay sa atin. Accept natin yung terms and conditions. And then confirm lang natin. If you are new to the Google Cloud Platform and Qwiklabs, I highly suggest na panoorin niyo yung activity namin regarding Introduction to Google Cloud para mabigyan kayo ng insights on how to navigate with the Google Cloud Platform and to the Qwiklabs itself. So accept lang natin yung terms of service and let's click agree and continue. Make sure na yung project ID nyo rito is same sa project ID na nakalagay sa panel nyo kung saan nyo kinuha yung credentials nyo for sign in. And ang label nun is yung GCP project ID. So yun lang, nice to know lang. So let's start na yung ating lab proper. Dito sa Cloud Console, we'll go to the navigation menu. And then hanapin natin yung Firestore. And then bibigyan niya tayo ng options to either select native mode or data store mode. Yung native mode, ginagamit siya usually for letting lots of users access the data at the same time. Yung data store mode naman is, ang emphasis niya is kung maraming reads and writes na mangyayari sa database. So for the purposes of this lab, let's just click select native mode. Then after that, we will select a location that is closest to our region. And ang pinakamalapit sa atin is Asia Southeast 2. And then let's click create database. Let's just wait na matapos yung initializing ng Cloud Firestore. And then once it's ready, you will be automatically redirected to your database. Once it's done, open naman natin yung ating Cloud Shell. And yung Cloud Shell is located malapit dito sa search bar natin. Let's click continue. Once na matapos yung establishing and yung provisioning sa ating Cloud Shell, check lang natin kung nandito yung project ID natin. Kung wala naman, pwede nyong i-follow tong instructions na to saying gcloud config set project, then yung project ID nyo, which you can find here or sa panel nyo kanina kung saan nyo kinuha yung credentials nyo. Dito sa Cloud Shell natin, let's run the following code to clone the pet theory repository. So once na matapos siya mag-clone, click lang natin tong Open Editor to open our Cloud Shell code editor. And once it is already initialized, punta tayo sa directory na pet theory. And then, punta tayo under lab 01. And under this directory, you should be able to see the package.json. And this file lists all the packages that your Node.js project depends on and makes your build reproducible, therefore easier to share with others. And after natin ma-check yung package.json sa directory na to, let's just return to the terminal and let's run the following command. To enable our app to write logs sa cloud logging, kailangan natin mag-install ng additional module. And we can do that by installing the Google Cloud/logging. After natin siya ma-install, balik tayo sa package.json na binuksan natin kanina. And then you should be able to see yung mga in-install natin dito sa dependencies. And since wala siya rito, it actually created a dependency in a separate package.json file. So navigate natin yun doon. And then copy lang natin yung mga dependency na nakalagay dito. And then paste natin siya rito sa package.json under the lab01 directory. And then let's just save it by clicking Ctrl S. Ang next step naman natin is to open the file na under pet theory, lab01, and then import testdata.js. Then to reference the Firestore API via the application, we need to add a dependency to the existing code base. So we will line the Firestore dependency dito sa line 4 ng ating import testdata.js. So integrating the Firestore database can be achieved with a couple lines of code katulad ng ginawa natin ngayon. And then we will add the following code stated dito sa write database import code section under step 8 dito sa line 9 ng ating import testdata.js. So this code declares a new database object na nireference natin nung ginawa natin yung database natin kanina. Ang function lang nito is it uses a batch process kung saan mararun yung records and yung document reference will be added based on the identifier. Now, when the application code is run, the Firestore database will be updated with the contents of the CSV file. And then sa import CSV function natin, we will add the call to write Firestore and remove the call to the write database. So, imbis na write to database, ang gagawin natin is write to Firestore na since yun yung ginawa natin kanina. So, ang function na import CSV, kinukuha niya yung file name and ipaparse niya yung content on a line-by-line basis. And then yung mga line na ito is mapapadala kay Firestore function na write to Firestore where each new record will be written to the customer database. And then, we will add the logging to the application. To initialize this, we will add the following line under K logging. And then balik tayo sa import CSV natin. And under the console.log, dito sa rote records, we will add the following text log entry. So after this update, save lang natin siya, Ctrl S. So after natin siya ma-save, balik tayo dito sa terminal natin. And then, mag-add naman tayo ng mga test data. So to add test data, first, we need to install the Faker library, which will be used by the script to generate fake customer data. And after natin siya ma-install, balik tayo sa editor natin. Then sa package.json, yung na-generate na bago, copy lang natin ito. And then i-paste natin siya sa package.json under the lab01 directory. And then let's just click save. And then ang next naman natin is we will open the create testdata.js. And then make sure lang yung code na nandito is the same sa code na nakalagay kay Qwiklabs for create test data. Once na na-verify nyo na kompleto siya and the same siya dun sa Qwiklabs instructions, we will now add the logging dito sa code base natin. So after ng Faker, let's just add the logging and let's click save. Katulad ng ginawa natin kanina, we will just add a few constant variables to initialize the logging client. And then punta tayo kay create test data function. And then dito sa ilalim ng console log, add lang natin yung code na ito for the text log entry. And then once it's done, let's just Control S to save. And then once it is saved, balik tayo rito sa terminal natin. And let's run the following command to configure the project ID by typing the gcloud config set project and then yung project ID natin, which is this. And then let's click authorize. And now we will set the project ID as an environment variable. So once it's done, you should be able to see this message na yung active configuration ninyo. And let's run this command to create the customers_1000 CSV na magko-contain ng 1,000 records ng ating test data. If makuha nyo itong message na to, na cannot find module, make sure na nasa directory kayo under the pet theory. And then run natin yung command ulit. And then once it is done, dito sa Qwiklabs natin, let's just check yung task completion. After ng task na ito, we will import the test customer data. And to test the import capability, we will use both the import script and the test data that we created earlier. And we can do that with the following code. So when it says that it cannot find the module, run natin tong npm install. And then copy natin uli yung code kanina. And then once we successfully imported the sample test data into the Firestore database, check lang natin uli yung progress natin in the import test data into the Firestore. Ang next naman natin is to inspect the data in the Firestore. And to do that, balik tayo sa Firestore natin. So kung wala kayo rito sa Firestore, under navigation menu, and then find the Firestore. And then once nakinig nyo siya, you should be redirected to this. And then kiklik natin yung pencil icon. And then type in natin yung customers. And then let's click enter. And refresh lang natin yung browser tab. And once the browser tab is refreshed, you should now be able to see the following list of customers that is successfully migrated. Pwede rin tayo mag-edit and delete ng data from the Firestore. So, pili lang tayo ng customer. And then, click lang natin yung phone number niya. And then, lalabas itong edit field na to kung saan pwede nating i-edit yung kanyang phone number. So, lagay lang natin dito na. And then, once na na-edit nyo siya, let's just click update. And then, yung changes na ginawa nyo is reflected siya rito kay Firestore. Pwede rin tayo mag-delete ng particular field. So, when we hover, for example, dito sa email, may kita natin tong trash bin. So pag pinindot natin siya, bibigyan niya tayo ng prompt kung i-delete ba natin itong field na ito. And let's confirm it by clicking delete. When testing migration scripts, you often need to delete all records once your test is complete. To do that, punta tayo dito sa may tatlong dots next to the customers. And let's click delete collection. And then meron dito magpa-pop up na menu that doing so will permanently delete the data in this collection path. And for now, click muna natin yung cancel. Pinakita ko lang sa inyo na kung paano mag-delete ng collection. The records in the database are test data. Once the real data is loaded, the access can be locked down so only a few members are able to edit or delete the production data. And to do that, we will add a developer to the project without giving them access to the Firestore. And then, to add these roles dun sa developer natin, balik lang tayo sa ating Cloud Shell. And then, yung username to na nasa panel natin, yun yung gagamitin natin na email for this developer. So to add, let's just type the following command and replace natin yung email with the username to stated sa Qwiklabs natin. And let's click enter. So once finished, you can finally check yung task natin na giving access to developer. And then let's do the same command again to add the writer role. And then replace lang natin uli yung email with username too. And kapag nagawa natin siya, check uli natin yung completed task, saying that we give Firestore access as a writer to the developer. Once completed, you should be able to see your updated scores dito. And make sure that you finished all the activities before the time runs out. And kapag nasigurado nyo ng lahat ng progress nyo is na-credit niya, like meron na rito mga scores, you can now safely end the lab. So congratulations! Throughout this lab, you received a hands-on practice with the Firestore, wherein natuto kayo kung paano mag-generate ng collection of customer data na pwede natin gamitin for testing. And then you also learned how to manipulate data in the Firestore through the Google Cloud Console. And then finally, you are able to add a developer to the Google Cloud project without giving them Firestore access. Once we are done, we can now safely click the End Lab. And merong prompt na lalabas saying na if you end this lab, you will lose all your work. And if you are sure na wala na kayo naiwan and kompleto na yung scores nyo rito, you can click OK. Once na natapos nyo yung lab, make sure na i-close nyo lahat ng tabs na ginamit nyo for that particular lab para matapon na yung resource na ginamit for that. And then, kapag natapos nyo rin yung lab, you should be able to get a monthly subscription for the Qwiklabs hands-on training. And para malaman nyo kung nakakuha kayo ng monthly subscription, click nyo lang uli yung icon nyo. Kanina, di ba, credits nakalagay. And kapag successfully nyo nagawa yung first lab, it should be saying monthly subscription. Ang next lab naman natin is to build a serverless web app with Firebase. So in this lab, you will learn how to enable the Firebase API. You will learn how to create and configure a Firebase project and also to configure the Firestore security to automate server-side authentication and authorization. You will learn how to add Google Sign-in to your web app and configure your database so that the users can add their contact information. We will also learn how to explore and deploy the code that allows your users to schedule appointments. And lastly is to explore Firebase real-time updates in your web app. So kung naka-attend kayo sa activity natin about Firebase Web Code Lab, yung mga objectives natin sa Lab 2 ng Qwiklabs Quest na ito is almost similar sa mga natutunan natin from that code lab. So this should be easier for you to follow na rin. And para magawa natin yung mga tasks na to, let's click Start Lab. You have 1 hour to finish this particular quest and make sure na nakompleto nyo yung mga activities under this lab under 1 hour. And then, since nakuha nyo na yung subscription kanina, nung natapos nyo yung lab 1, ang pipiliin na natin ngayon is use subscription. Meaning you have 1 month access to unlimited credits. So, kung ano man yung labs na gusto nyo gawin is pwede nyo na siyang magawa after you completed the serverless development with Firebase na quest. And then, let's open yung Google Console. And let's just log in using the credentials na present kay Qwiklabs. Accept lang natin ulit yung terms and condition. Let's click confirm. And then click lang uli natin yung terms of service. Ang first step natin is we will enable the Google Cloud Firestore API and we will set up a Firestore database. So to do that, dito sa navigation menu natin, click natin yung APIs and services and then library. And then search natin yung Firestore. And then click natin itong Google Cloud Firestore API. If hindi pa siya naka-enable, i-click nyo yung enable. So if it is already enabled, you should now be seeing this text saying API enabled. And then we will go to the navigation menu again and select Firestore. And then we will be prompted to choose where we want to store our data. And ang pipiliin natin is the native mode. For the location, let's select yung NAM5 United States as stated sa instructions sa Qwiklabs. And then let's create database. Again, the initialization of the Cloud Firestore usually takes a few minutes. And after this is done, you will be redirected to your database. Once your database has been initialized, you should be able to see this page, wherein your database is ready to go and we will just need to add data. Let's go to the Firebase console by typing in console.firebase.google.com. Make sure ang naka-sign in na account is yung Qwiklabs account na iyon, since ayun yung binigyan ng provision to do the rest of the activities in the lab. And after nyo ma-check, let's just click Add Project. And then sa project name, enter lang natin yung Qwiklabs project ID natin. And you should be able to see this automatically kung nakalog in yung Qwiklabs account nyo. And then accept yung Firebase terms and then continue. Confirm the pay-as-you-go billing plan. And then continue lang natin ulit. And on this page about Google Analytics for Firebase projects, deselect lang natin siya. And then let's add Firebase. It will take a while to load. So let's just wait for it to finish. And once it is ready, let's click continue. Let's go back to our Qwiklabs instructions. And sa Create Firebase project, we should now be able to check the progress since we have completed the task. Ang next step naman natin is to register our app. So if you have done the code labs about Firebase Web, most of the steps here in the Qwiklabs will be familiar to you since almost the same lang yung ginawa natin nakaraan sa gagawin natin ngayon. So to register your app, click nyo lang itong web icon. And then for the app nickname, you can just type in Pet Theory. And then let's check up the box for the Firebase hosting. And then click the register app. For the remaining steps, let's just click next. And let's return to our Qwiklabs page. And since we have successfully registered our app, we can now click the progress to check it, indicating that you have completed the task. And let's return to the console. And now that you have configured your Firebase for the project, what we need to do next is to install the Firebase CLI and deploy to Firebase hosting. So to do that, balik tayo sa Cloud Console natin. And open natin yung Cloud Shell. Pag lumabas yung window na to, click nyo lang yung Continue. Let's just wait for it to provision and initialize and to establish the connection to the Google Cloud Shell. In the Cloud Shell, we run this command to clone the Pet Theory repository. Kapag na-clone na siya, change natin yung directory natin to the lab 2 of the Pet Theory. And then we will run the following npm command to create a new node app and to install the Firebase CLI. And we can do that by pasting in the npm init --yes and then npm install -g Firebase tools. After nyo ma-run yung npm installs, we will now run the following command to link the Google account with the Firebase by typing in Firebase login --no localhost. Kapag may lumabas dito na question asking you to allow Firebase to collect CLI usage, just enter in letter Y for yes. So copy this URL in a new browser tab And then you should be able to see this. And then piliin lang natin yung Qwiklabs account na pinag-sign in natin. And then allow your Qwiklabs Google account to access the Firebase CLI. Once na pinindot nyo yung allow, mareredirect kayo rito, giving you an access code. And then, copy nyo itong access code na ito, tapos balik kayo sa Cloud Shell ninyo, and then paste the authorization code here. And then click enter. Once it's done, kailangan makakita kayo ng message na you are able to successfully log in as the Qwiklabs student account. And then to set up the project to US Central Region, we will run this following command. Kaya natin to niro-run is para ma-match natin yung Firebase project resource location na pinili natin kanina. May lumabas na warning dito stating that the US Central is not a valid region. So try natin i-run itong G Cloud Compute Regions list. To get the list of all regions. So ang result natin dito is it should be US Central 1. So type lang natin yung tinype natin kanina, pero instead na US-Central, gawin natin siyang US-Central 1. And then click enter. And then we will now initialize a new Firebase project dito sa current working directory natin by typing in Firebase init. Once na in-enter nyo yung Firebase init command, you will be asked to select the Firebase CLI features that you want to set up in this folder. And ang gagamitin natin is yung Firestore and yung hosting. So to select, we will just click space. And to navigate, we will just use the arrow keys. So what we want is the Firestore. Click natin yung space to select. And then we also want the hosting. Once na na-select nyo na yung Firestore and hosting, i-click nyo lang yung enter. And then for this project setup, we will just use an existing project. Let's click enter. And then select nyo yung Qwiklabs project ID nyo dito. And then enter again. And then for the what file should be used for Firestore rules, click lang natin yung enter. And this question is asking you if you would like to overwrite the Firestore rules. And type lang natin yung N to keep those rules. And then click lang natin uli yung enter for the files sa Firestore indexes. And then N uli kasi ayaw natin ma-overwrite yun. Enter lang uli natin for the public directory. Press N again. And for the overwrite, let's type no. Once your local configuration is now complete, we can now set up for the database authentication step that is required to provide access between those services. And to set up for the authentication and database, balik tayo sa Firebase console natin. And then sa project overview, under the build section, let's select authentication. And then let's click Get Started. From the list of providers, let's select Google. And then enable lang natin siya. For the project support email, select natin yung Qwiklabs email na pinang-login natin kanina. And then let's click Save. So once it is saved, you have now successfully set up the Firestore authentication. And then balik tayo sa Qwiklabs natin. And then check off lang natin na nagawa na natin yung task na yun. And then what we will do next is we will configure the Firestore authentication and then add a sign-in to our web app. So balik tayo sa Cloud Shell natin. And then let's run this command to list the folders and files under our Lab 2 directory. And then para ma-update natin yung mga files under this directory, pwede nyo buksan yung code editor from the Cloud Shell, which can be found at the top ribbon. Pero sa lab na ito, I want to show you how to use the Nano text editor. So to do that, we can just type in Nano space yung file name natin. And in this case, ito yung firestore.rules. And kapag in-enter niyo siya, you should be seeing this code. And make sure that this code matches the code na nakastate sa Qwiklabs. So what this code does is that it will configure the Firestore database so that each user can only access their own data. Now, once you made sure na same lang yung content ng code na ito sa content na nakalagay sa Qwiklabs, you can just type in Ctrl-X to exit. And then make sure na nasa lab 02 directory kayo. If not, you can type in CD and then pet theory, then lab 02. Once na nasa directory na kayo, run the following command to deploy your Firebase application. And once na-enter nyo na siya, you should be seeing messages similar to the one you're seeing on the screen. And once this is complete, you can click the hosting URL and then open it in a new tab. And you should be seeing this web page. And now, let's click on the Sign In with Google button. And then select nyo lang yung Qwiklabs account na pinang-sign in ninyo. If you see that your browser is not supported or third-party cookies and data may be disabled error, make sure na naka-enable yung cookies sa browser ninyo. And then you should be seeing this. This is now the deployed code to let users use Google Authentication to access the Appointments app. Kung saan makikita nyo yung customer email, customer name, customer phone fields, and then meron tayong Save Profile button, and then Appointments link. Let's return sa Cloud Shell natin so that we can add a customer page to our web app. So change directory tayo sa public directory. And then list lang natin yung laman ng directory na to. So meron tayong iba't ibang files under the public directory. And ito yung nasa-serve once na dineploy natin yung web app natin. And then we'll just check in the customer.html file by typing in nano space customer.html. Then review lang natin yung code na nakalagay dito sa customer.html. You should be seeing the structure of the code na nakita nyo kanina nung dineploy nyo yung web app nyo. And then once it's done, you can just click Ctrl-X. And we'll just open the customer.js file And to do that, we will type in nano space customer.js. Dapat walang laman yung file na ito kasi tayo maglalagay ng laman. And then paste lang natin yung code na nasa Qwiklabs papunta rito sa code ng customer.js. And then to save the file, let's type in Ctrl-O and then enter and then Ctrl-X to exit. Once it's done, we will now open the styles.css and let's type in nano styles.css and then let's paste the code from the Qwiklabs. And itong code na ito lang yung magbibigay ng styling sa web app na ginagawa natin. Once you're done, type Ctrl-O, enter, and then Ctrl-X to exit again. Now that your customer page has been updated, dito sa Cloud Shell natin, we will deploy the application again by typing in Firebase deploy. Once it is completed, let's return lang dun sa application tab natin and hard refresh the page. So for Windows users, you can hard refresh the page by typing Ctrl-Shift-R. For Mac users, you can hard refresh by typing in Command-Shift-R para makita nyo yung changes na nangyari. Kapag refresh lang, maaari nyo hindi makita yung changes na ginawa nyo. So make sure that hard refresh yung ginawa nyo. So type lang tayo rito ng sample data like John Doe and yung phone number niya. And then save profile lang natin. And let's return lang sa Google Cloud natin. And then refresh natin yung page. And tingnan natin kung na-save nga ba yung information na tinype natin from our web app. Once it's done loading, you should now be seeing kung ano yung name and phone number na in-enter nyo sa web app natin dito sa Firestore database. Kapag bumalik tayo sa web app page natin, click lang natin yung appointments and you should not be seeing anything since you haven't deployed the appointments code yet. So since nagawa na natin yung customer page sa web app, we can just click check my progress dito sa checkpoints. You can also scroll dito sa Qwiklabs instructions and click nyo yung check my progress sa particular task na yun. What we will do next is to let users schedule appointments. So balik lang tayo dito sa Cloud Shell natin. And sa public directory pa rin, type natin yung nano space appointments.html and then let's paste the following code na magde-define ng appointments file natin. And then once it's done, type in Ctrl-O, enter, and then Ctrl-X. Now, we will open naman yung appointment.js file. To do that, type uli natin yung nano, space, and then yung appointments.js. And then paste lang uli natin yung JavaScript code. To save, Ctrl-O, enter, and then Ctrl-X. Now that our files have been built, we can now view our changes. And to do that, we have to redeploy the Firebase application by typing in Firebase deploy. And then, punta lang tayo uli sa web app tab natin and then hard reload lang uli natin by typing in Ctrl-Shift-R, and you should now be seeing the appointments page. So try natin maglagay ng appointment Then, schedule natin. So, try uli natin mag-appoint. And then, schedule natin ulit. So, balik tayo sa Google Cloud platform natin and reload natin yung Firestore to see if pumasok yung appointment schedule na sinelect natin. Once na nag-reload na siya, you should be seeing the appointments collection and then meron siyang sariling ID. And kapag kinlik nyo siya, makikita nyo yung time. And then try uli natin mag-add ng appointment and then schedule natin siya. And then let's return sa Firestore natin. And then yung bagong entry na nilagay nyo, it should be reflected kay Firestore. You could actually manipulate this. So click natin yung pencil button and then try natin baguhin yung date niya. Ngayon nagbago siya na April 17. And that concludes our lab. So congratulations, you have created a robust serverless web application with Firebase. Na-refresh yung skills natin on how to create and configure a Firebase project. You're able to add Firestore security to automate server-side authentication and authorization. And then you use Google Sign-in to your web app and you have configured your database so that the users can add contact info and appointments. And finally, you explored and deployed code that allows users to schedule appointments. Kapag nasigurado nyo na yung mga tasks nyo is nagawa nyo na siya, you could click End Lab. And make sure na close natin yung tabs na ginamit nyo to close the resources na ginamit ng particular Qwiklabs account na yun. Congratulations for finishing the Labs 1 and 2 of the Serverless Firebase Development, kung saan tinakal natin kung paano mag-import ng data sa Firestore database and kung paano mag-build ng serverless web app using the Firebase. So may challenge ako sa inyo ngayon, which is to deploy a Yugo website with cloud build and Firebase pipeline and to build an application with Dialogflow and cloud functions. And upon completion of those two labs, meron ding additional challenge lab, si Qwiklabs, kung saan gagawa kayo ng front-end solution using a REST API and the Firestore database. The lab content is based on resolving a real-world scenario through the use of Google Cloud serverless infrastructure. So yung challenge lab na nakastate kay Qwiklabs, this is your chance to apply kung ano yung mga natutunan nyo from labs 1 to 4 ng particular quest na iyon. I hope may natutunan kayo in the past few days na discussion natin about the Firebase in action. And I hope yung mga knowledge na shinare namin sa inyo is magamit ninyo sa paggawa ng projects na pwede nyong isubmit for the Solution Challenge 2021. So thank you for joining us and I hope you have a pleasant evening. Thank you.
Let's check out the solution challenge.
Let's do this.
Okay, I'll present my screen.
Welcome to the Google Developer Student Club's 2021 Solution Challenge. The mission of this challenge is to use Google technology to solve for one of the United Nations' 17 Sustainable Development Goals, aiming to end poverty, ensure prosperity, and protect the planet. Win cool prizes, mentorship from Google, and swag. Get help along the way from Google at training events, code labs, and hackathons. Submit your solution by March 31st, 2021. Register today. We can't wait to see what you build.
Let's get started.